If you've been following along with me on your fitting adventure, you may have noticed that I'm adding fitting allowances around all the edges of patterns, whether I'm working with pants or bodices. And during my efficient workflow for bodice fitting class last Saturday, it occurred to me that there is a time and a place for internal fitting allowances. So instead of just adding fitting allowances around the edges of the pattern, I realized that adding them within the pattern can save you a lot of time and frustration when you're working on fitting a bodice. So what I want to do first is just show you here. This is my bodice that I'm working with, and it's kind of a hot mess because I've been drawing on it in various color coding to share with my students what I'm doing. But you can see here this pink shaded area that's a wedge at the hem, and then it goes all the way up to the tip of the shoulder here. That was extra ease I had to add after I cut out my muslin and let it out from the side. And after I did that, I realized I needed some more ease within the pattern, because sometimes just adding to the side creates a situation where the fabric under your arms and along your side seams just hangs there and wings out, and it can't really sort of shift into where you need it. So adding a wedge within your pattern that you can then let out if you need to would save you the necessity of having to slice and dice your pattern, create more ease, and then make a new muslin. So I did it in the front, and you can see here I also added some ease in the back, and here it's shaded in green. So I added about 1 inch in the back, and it went all the way up to 0 at the shoulder. So here's what I want to show you. I have a mini bodice here. Let's just work with the front and the back. And the first thing I'm going to do is just create a hem edge. Apparently these are not printing on my little half scale pieces here. All right, let's start with the front. Now, being body aware is going to help you decide whether or not you even need to have these internal fitting allowances. If you have a shape where you're very small in the shoulder, you typically need a full bust adjustment, and then you need a larger size through your tummy and hem area, this is the perfect fitting allowance to add to your pattern, because it doesn't really add much length up here, but then as it comes down, it'll add a little bit more at your bust and more to the hem. So if you've got that shape where you're sort of a pear shape and you always need a bigger size from waist down, that this would be one good option for you to have that internal room. Also, if you're just a big person, like I'm a big person, I'm big boned, I've got a G cup bust size, I've got a tummy, and I don't really have hips, but the tummy kind of balances out the fact that sometimes I need more ease than I think I do once I get into my fabric. So the first place I would add this would be in the middle of the shoulder, right over the fullest part of your bust. Okay, you can add one there. And you can also add one in the flat part of the armhole, and you can add one at center front and just below the waistline, sort of parallel to the center front. And the thing that this is going to do for you is it's going to allow you to create extra room that you're not going to add in unless you need it. This is really important, because the hardest thing in fitting is to get rid of excess ease. If you have a lot of ease and it's just really, really big, it's harder to identify what you need to do. So what I would say is, I'm just gonna, cut off this so I can make some strips here. Okay, so you're gonna slash up to, through the hem, up to either the neckline or the shoulder or the base of the armhole. Okay, and then you're going to create pivots at that point by coming in from the top so you can spread these areas open like this, right? Then what you're going to do is you're just going to stick some paper in there. So let's say I want to give myself some extra, and I'm going to show you how to spread all three of these areas. Again, you may only want to do one. If you're going to do one, I would do the one from your shoulder down, but you can also do from the armhole down and the neckline if you want to spread out the total amount that you're adding here. And I'm going to use my booster to hold it at the top here so I can show you. I can just open this up, the amount I need, and these will be moving out eventually too, but you want to make sure everything is laying nice and flat. And if it's not laying flat, that means your pivot is not, you know, you need to make your pivot a little bit you know, closer there. You only want to catch the top of that slash by, like, I don't know, a little slip of paper there so it stays attached but not landlocked, right? So then I can, why is that not? So then I can just move it in, get it to lay flat like this. I'm just going to put my So Tight booster there to hold the top for me. And I'm just going to tape this flat. Okay, and then let's do another one. So again, sometimes it's easier if you tape one side down and then work on sliding that in to the amount you want to spread it like this. If you're going to do one through a dart, you might need to just reestablish your dart. So essentially, I'm just going to spread it. Okay, and then just, you know, just make sure you can reestablish that dart. Like this. All right, so obviously you would sew this dart first and then you would close these fitting allowances. So let me show you how that would work. So let me just cut off my extra paper here. And where am I going to put my extra paper? In my scrap bin. So let's quickly cut out this front. So we're pretending this is our, you know, our front bodice. And I'm just going to use my fabulous So Tight boosters to flatten out this messy pattern that I did, trying to make it, trying to show you how to sew up those pleats in paper. That was silly. All right, here, let me just get it nice and flat. All right, so I'm really nailing down this pattern piece because, like I said, I mangled it trying to fold it up. Okay, oops. So now the easiest way to transfer these wedge shape adjustments from the pattern to the fabric is to just mark the tops and the bottoms. So all I have to do is literally slide my pattern piece up a little bit and just mark where I spread it down here, like this. Okay, and then mark where the pivot is up at the top. So I'm just going to put a dot there, and a dot there. And then I'm also going to mark my dart the same way. I'm going to mark my dart, and to mark the tip of my dart, what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to use something sharp, like a stiletto, and I'm going to create a hole in the tip of my dart, like that. I'm going to put the pattern piece back down, and then I can use my Sharpie marker to just bleed into that hole, and that gives me my dart. So now let's draw that in. Actually, before I draw that in, I'm going to draw in these. So let's do this first. So essentially, I'm just going to mark my, where I split the pattern to add internal fitting allowances. Like this. Okay, and then essentially I'm going to baste those shut, and I'm not going to drag my sewing machine over here, but essentially all I'm going to do is pin these shut. But in reality, you would do this, you would baste them on your sewing machine. Okay. Like this. And you can see what's going to happen here is you will have extra to let out if you need it. And I just think this is going to save people a lot of extra fabric and frustration, because sometimes no matter how much you measure and how much you test it, the fabric is going to do something different. Because remember, all fabric fits differently. So you may think that you had enough ease, but then when you get your full muslin on, you realize it's too tight. Having these little release valves within the pattern is going to be a game changer, I think. So again, think of these pins as basting stitches on the sewing machine. Okay, so I've got 2 there. All right, and then I'm also going to do this last one. Now remember, I did them all to show you where they all go. You don't necessarily need to do them all. If you think you just need a little bit of extra ease, you can just do 1 or 2 and not all of them. Now for the one that's going into the bust dart, I'm going to pin my bust dart first. And then I'm going to only I'm going to pin from the hem to the base of the bust dart. I'm not going to go through the bust dart, because you can see up at the very top, that's really negligible. I mean, it gets to be like 1/8 or 3/16 of an inch. That's really not going to be anything that you need to worry about while you're doing your fitting. So just to keep it simple, if you decide to add it along the side seam here into the base of the armhole, just pin it to the base of the dart if your pattern has a bust dart. So it would look like this. All right, so this is how it would look. And you can see with the bust dart pinned, you can see I'm already starting to get that shape for the cup there, right? But you can see you have plenty of room now to let that out if you need to. And again, for people who are small in their shoulders and then maybe have a different larger size by the time you get to the full hip and the waist, this would be an amazing thing to add to your pattern. But I highly recommend making sure before you fit your first muslin, you baste those fitting allowances shut. Don't assume you need them. Let them out if you need them. So this is just a fun little, I think, another fun little way to make bodice fitting a little bit more efficient and a little bit more thrifty on your fabric. It might save you a muslin. You can do this to the back and the front. So I hope you give this a try on your next bodice fitting adventure. In the back of my head, I'm thinking, do we need these for pants fitting? And my initial answer and thought on that is no, because pants fit differently, and I think having the allowances both at the side seam, waist, and also inseam is enough to give you extra room if you need it. But I am going to test it, and I'll confirm my choice on that in the next few weeks. But for bodice fitting, again, I think this would be a huge game changer to add internal fitting allowances to your muslin, baste them shut, and then let them out if you need to. If you have any questions or comments, please post those below and I will help you. If you're enjoying my content, please consider subscribing to my channel. It will help me grow, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day.